At the start of the movie, we meet high school student Satsui Hikari. He enjoys animation and video games in the virtual world, but he doesn't enjoy his real life. Hikari mostly sits alone in his room, commenting on the latest animated series. His virtual girlfriend Azumichi is jealous and angry because she thinks he had an affair with a character from another anime. However, Hikari asserts that she is the only girlfriend he has and gets ready for school. Hikari starts his day with some bad luck, like accidentally bumping into his mother in the kitchen and getting splashed with hot water bad luck. Additionally, the road to school is blocked because it is being repaired, and he is also faced with the choice of helping an elderly woman or saving a litter of kittens on the way. Azumichi is always by his side, and she tells him that living in the real world is very troublesome because he is faced with difficult choices. Hikari decides to save both the elderly woman and the kittens, which almost makes him late for school. In the next scene, we learn that Hikari has only one friend at school, Yudo, who is also a social misfit. He is brutally mocked by most of his classmates for being creepy and weird. Like Hikari, Yudo also loves watching anime and playing online video games. He despises the real world. In their classroom, the two friends are approached by a group of bullies led by Takanashi Mitsuya. At first, Mitsuya makes fun of Yudo for wearing a headband with cat ears. After that, he shifts his attention to the other nerd. Mitsuya wants Hikari to replace him in the teacher's room and get the punishment in his stead. Powerless, Hikari accepts the order and goes to the teacher's room. There, he meets the most popular girl in school, Iroha, who has also been summoned for punishment. The two are then paired together to clean the school's swimming pool. Hikari initially doesn't like her, figuring that she'll flake out on the pool cleaning and leave it all up to him. However, she does show up and helps him with the cleaning. While drying their clothes, a shy Hikari stands away from Iroha. Seeing him flustered, she abruptly asks him to date her. Hikari gets annoyed and scolds her, thinking that a popular girl like her only wants to play with his feelings. But Iroha, who has been rejected for the first time in her life, becomes upset and leaves the pool. The next day, Hikari talks about the incident with his friend Yudo, who convinces him to apologize to Iroha. Taking the advice, Hikari follows Iroha to a bookstore where the latter is falsely accused of being a thief. Iroha tells the truth that she isn't the one who stole the book. She even unpacks her bag and throws it on the ground to prove that she is innocent. Despite this, the bookstore owner isn't convinced, so Hikari jumps in to help Iroha. He reveals that he's been stalking her for a while, so he knows that she hasn't stolen anything. Unfortunately, the owner takes it the wrong way and calls the police on him for stalking. This causes Hikari to immediately flee the store. The next day, Iroha approaches him in class and thanks him for standing up for her. She then publicly asks him to date her once again. Unfortunately, Hikari rejects her this time as well. When Iroha takes off, one of his classmates rushes to Hikari and urges him to go after her. The latter obliges and rushes to apologize to her. Hikari is shocked when Iroha still insists on dating him. He finally gives in and decides to be her boyfriend for the next 6 months, as after that, she is moving away for some reason. From that day onwards, the two officially begin dating. Iroha asks him to pick her up every morning to go to school together and hold hands as couples do. She also wants to do other things like eating together, going on dates, hugging, and even kissing. Meanwhile, Hikari is still processing the fact that he now has a real-life girlfriend. Later at night, Hikari sits in his room contemplating how hard it is to date in real life with all the rules and demands of his girlfriend. Azumichi appears out of nowhere and incites him by saying that Iroha only wants to play with his feelings. Meanwhile, Hikari's parents and his younger brother are outside, eavesdropping on his conversation with the imaginary Azumichi. The following day at school, Hikari sits with Iroha in the cafeteria, which makes him the center of attention. All the students are still shocked that the two are dating. Among them is the bully Mitsuya, who approaches the couple and begins insulting Hikari's penchant for anime and video games. He then tries to convince Iroha to dump Hikari and be with him instead. Shortly after, Hikari loses his patience and stands up to defend himself and his relationship. He begins to hit Mitsuya, but suddenly Iroha faints and falls to the ground. Iroha faintly tells him to take her to the hospital to see a doctor named Mabuchi. Wasting no time, he rushes her to the hospital so that Iroha can get immediate medical attention. Hikari looks very worried even after his girlfriend is fully recovered. Seeing him worried about her, Iroha feels happy since this is the first time a boy has really cared about her. A few days later, Hikari asks a classmate, Arisa, to give advice on dating. The classmate gives some cheesy advice in response. Then, when he and Iroha go on a date, she finds Arisa's dating advice really boring. So, she suggests Hikari take her to his home to meet his family. As expected, Hikari's family looks stunned because this is the first time he has ever brought a very beautiful girl home. Nonetheless, they throw a celebration party and ask how Aroa came to be in a relationship with Hikari. She reveals the swimming pool incident and also says that she fell in love with him the first time they met. This surprises his family even more. A while later, Aroa insists Hikari take her to his bedroom. However, the parents lie that Hikari doesn't have one. This is because they know their son's room is filled with posters of the anime character Ezomichi, whom he considers his virtual girlfriend. The parents are worried that Aroa might not like their son anymore when she sees the room. However, Aroa is determined, so she sneaks into Hikari's room. She is amazed to see all the action figures and posters occupying the room. Meanwhile, Hikari is surprised to find Aroa isn't what he expected. She actually admires and appreciates his love for anime and video games and doesn't think he is a weird outcast. After watching some anime together, Hikari accompanies his girlfriend to her home. Before parting, she gently kisses his cheeks, much to Hikari's surprise. One day, Hikari is working a part-time job, wearing a ladybug costume at an amusement park. Suddenly, he sees Aroa with a small child who has just lost her mother in the park. Fortunately, she finds the woman and hands the kid over to her. At this point, she bumps into Hikari but doesn't recognize him since he is in a costume. Before she leaves, Aroa meets with Dr. Mabuchi from the hospital, and they go on about their day. Noticing how close they are, Hikari believes Aroa and Mabuchi have more than just a doctor-patient relationship. The following day, he texts Aroa saying that he won't be able to pick her up for school. Later on the school premise, he stumbles into a fellow schoolmate, Sumi, who is also very fond of anime and video games. Just like Hikari, she also likes the character Ezomichi. The two chat passionately for a while, sharing their common interests. Meanwhile, Aroa watches this from afar and seemingly gets jealous. Mitsuya pops in and continues to tell her to leave Hikari and be with him instead. Later, when returning home, Aroa and Hikari cross paths, but he won't speak to her. She confronts him, but apparently, Hikari isn't sensitive to his girlfriend's feelings, as he is still mad at her for meeting the doctor at the park. As days pass by, Hikari turns cold, allowing the misunderstanding to drag on. The two become more and more awkward towards each other and act like strangers. After that, Hikari tells the bully Mitsuya that he has broken up with Aroa. The latter actually feels insulted because he has been slighted by Hikari, so he punches him to the ground. Seeing her boyfriend lying helpless, Aroa defends him and slaps Mitsuya. She then immediately rushes Hikari to the hospital. After he receives treatment, Dr. Mabuchi approaches Hikari and wonders what he did to Aroa. Since they started dating, Aroa is seemingly cheerful and happy. Hikari is pleased to hear that he brought positive changes to Aroa's life. A while later, Aroa shows up with a battered Mitsuya, who apologizes to Hikari for his misconduct earlier. She then cheerfully embraces her boyfriend. Hikari also apologizes to her for all the misunderstandings. The next day, he introduces Aroa to his friends and reveals that she is his girlfriend. The anime lover Sumi is understandably shocked and falls to the ground. The group is joined by Arisa, the classmate who gave dating advice to Hikari. Meanwhile, Yudo seems to really like Sumi. Arisa suggests they all go on a picnic so that Hikari and Aroa can spend more time together. She also invites her crush, who is none other than Mitsuya. In the next scene, we see the group enjoying their picnic. Later, Sumi watches Hikari and Aroa having fun together and feels sad. Unbeknownst to her, Yudo is watching her from behind, and he realizes that Sumi actually likes Hikari. Later that evening, Hikari suddenly feels unwell, so he heads to the inn to rest. A while later, Sumi follows him inside and slowly approaches the sleeping Hikari. She gently places her hand over his, but suddenly Aroa arrives at the scene and sees this. Furious, she storms out of the room and decides to leave. Noticing that something is wrong with Aroa, Arisa rushes to wake Hikari and urges him to go after her. Meanwhile, Yudo goes to sue Sumi, who is sobbing alone. She reveals to him that she feels sorry for Aroha and that she likes Hikari. Yudo reveals this to Hikari, but the latter straightforwardly rejects Sumi's feelings, confessing that he is actually in love with Aroha. Next, Hikari finds Aroa sitting alone and declares his feelings for her. Aroa also says that she loves him, and the two passionately kiss each other. However, their love story is about to end, as Aroa finally reveals the truth about her health. At the school's Halloween party, Aroa confesses that she actually has a dangerous condition and has to undergo surgery. Her recovery is uncertain. So she wants to end the relationship with Hikari and tearfully suggests that he forget about her. We also learn that this Halloween night is exactly 6 months since they first met and started dating. Hearing this, Hikari remains speechless with eyes full of tears. He can't believe Aroa is ending the relationship just like that. He stands silently as he watches the girl he loves leave him. Fast forward to 5 years later, Hikari is now working in a big company. He still loves Aroha and hopes they will meet up again. After work, he always visits the place he used to pick her up after school. But as always, she doesn't show up. Hikari believes that happy endings only happen in the virtual world and not in the real world. But one day, he does come across Aroa and he tries to talk with her. However, the latter doesn't seem to recognize him. Later, Hikari meets with Dr. Mabuchi, who reveals that Aroa lost most of her memories after her brain surgery. He also reveals that he is marrying her, much to Hikari's shock. That night, Hikari visits his old friends and explains the entire situation to them. Everybody seems upset since they know Aroa doesn't remember them anymore or the time they spent together. It is finally the wedding day, and we see the doctor and Aroa preparing to make their vows. However, they are interrupted by Yudo and the other friends, who begin sharing their high school memories with Aroha. Yudo also gives her a small gift, which turns out to be Hikari's favorite anime character, Ezomichi's wand. This instantly unlocks all her memories, so Aroa cancels her wedding and tearfully runs outside to find the love of her life. Meanwhile, Hikari is in his room talking with Ezomichi. He tells her that he will always love Aroa, so he is determined to get her back. Following this, he rushes outside his house. Fortunately, the two meet at a Halloween party and express their love for each other. After so long apart, they finally wrap their arms around each other and embrace.